o'clock on May 10th, and the Park Commission will come to order. Mary, will you do the roll call for us, please?
Yes. Chair David Downs,
Here.
Vice Chair Jason Branch,
Here.
Danielle Heide,
Here.
Georgina Keyport,
Here.
Zach Saressig,
Here.
Elizabeth Weinbein,
Here.
Carly Sitch,
Here.
Carrie Schworm, Mike Hauer,
Here.
Rhoda Hassan. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. The next item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt, or is
I
there
motion
comments?
to adopt the agenda.
Motion by Liz,
Second.
second by Georgianne. The agenda is adopted. Visitors presentation. Seeing none, we'll close the visitors presentation item. And the next item is to approve previous minutes from March 8th. Are there any comments on the minutes of the March 8th?
I had a question. This is back from February minutes, though. Just
Okay.
a question, if that's okay. It's back from city council minutes from February. I finally went back and read them.
Are those the ones that are on here at February 7th?
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
that's another item on the agenda.
Okay, apologies. Go ahead.
All right.
Carry on.
So, motion to approve the March 8th Park Commission minutes?
motion.
Daniela, motion?
I second the motion.
Carly seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
March minutes are approved. Okay, recent council and planning meeting minutes. 6A is council minutes, February 7th, 2022.
Yeah, I just had a, thank you. I just had a question about when they had the superlative group in before the city council, talking about the naming rights. They talked about $24,000. I don't remember what that was actually going for. And that there wasn't a lot of notes in the minutes for it. Was it just for them to come do the assessment of the community for what could possibly be up for?
Yeah, that was the fee for the phase one valuation.
So the city's paying that up front. We're paying that $24,000 up front. And that's the first official investment by the city in this project.
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
Okay. I was just curious.
yep,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other comments on that one? 6B is the council meeting of February 28th. There was a couple things in there that I found pretty interesting that I really wasn't aware of. One was the Chaska Tech Center. Does everybody except me understand what that is and where it's going and all that stuff? Or is that new to everybody?
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know a lot
It's
about it.
next to Pharmacote, that new building, they're gonna put up a new multi-use facility. That is, I think it's, yeah.
It's for training for,
I think, my understanding is it's a facility that could be rented out to many different small businesses.
oh,
So they
okay.
had several separate areas. I don't know who's going in there, but
Okay. Any other comments on February 8th minutes, or February 28th? The next one's the council meeting of March 7th. Any comments on those? Council meeting of April 4th. Planning minutes of February 9th. Planning minutes of March 9th. Any comments? The general comment that I would have is, boy, they got a lot going on.
Yeah.
I mean, holy mackerel. All the different building sites going in and homes going up and apartments going in.
There's
And
just a ton of notes. I just can't imagine what those meetings are.
Oh.
There's so much to be aware
they've
of.
got to be incredible.
Yeah, I think they got nine plans to review tomorrow night. So,
It's all good stuff.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
A lot going on in the
coming
community.
in
Lot going on.
avalanches, you know.
yeah.
Hearing no comments, we will accept minutes from the city council and the planning commission. Action items, recommendation regarding Guardian Angels Gym.
All right, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thanks for being here on a beautiful night. Holy cow. Driving around before I came to the meeting tonight, and it's always fun to see the community kind of come alive when spring hits and good weather, and just fun to drive around and see all the activity in our parks and kids fishing at the lakes and things like that. So, but yeah, we do have an action item tonight that had some materials in the packet that went out beforehand. And so what I'm going to do, I have a presentation I put together to kind of walk us through it. So let me just go ahead and share my screen here to pull that up.
I've got a copy of this. Do you want to take a look at it?
No, I already read that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Good, here we go. So we have a Guardian Angels School redevelopment concept plan that got submitted into the city from the Community Asset Development Group. And the reason why we're reviewing it here at the Parks and Recreation Commission is you'll see that there's a gym component as part of this redevelopment site, and just kind of the nature of that being a recreation facility, and the fact that the developer approached the city to see if we would be interested in acquiring or leasing the gym is really what kind of prompted the city to look into this. And so I do want to preface that the city was not, actively looking for a gym. We were approached by the developer, and so we kind of looked into it further, but felt it was important, just kind of, because there's that recreation component of this redevelopment, to have the conversation with the Parks and Recreation Commission as part of the planning process. The overall redevelopment kind of concept plan will be reviewed by the Planning Commission at their meeting tomorrow night, and then from there it will go to City Council on Monday the 16th. And then just as a reminder, the city really uses a kind of a three-step approach as they're reviewing plans. So it always starts with concept, goes through the commissions and council, then it goes on to preliminary, and then finishes with the final plan review and approval. So this is just at the concept phase at this point. So next, I thought I would just show a map and kind of the location in case some of you aren't familiar, but the location of the Guardian Angels School and Church is located in the southwest area of downtown Chaska, as you see it there on the left, and then kind of zoomed in, you can see it's located between Cedar and Pine Street on the east and west, and then between 2nd and 1st Street to the north and south. What's on that site currently, I'll kind of use my cursor here to explain it. Here is the convent, and then to the west of that, and kind of going down the length of the block here would be the Guardian Angels School. And then in the southwest corner here is where the gym is currently located. And then kind of going over from the gym is a current playground, open space area, and kind of a courtyard here in the middle. And then there are a few homes on the block. There's 2 single-family homes and 1 duplex located on the block. So to create a little bit of context, I thought it would be good to look at our city's 2040 comprehensive plan as it relates to our parks, trails, recreation, and open space. And do want to point out that, you know, there is a, well, going back here, on the left, it really shows kind of our map of the various parks throughout Chaska, and they're color-coded just based on if it's a neighborhood park or mini park or more of a community park. And then those red circles are what we defined as search areas. You know, so essentially opportunities for us to be thinking about into the future. And a lot of that has to do with our overall goal of having a neighborhood park within 1/2 mile of residential homes. So kind of as the city develops and parks got established, you can draw a radius to see how it serves kind of a 1/2 mile, and then wherever there's those gaps is where we try to identify future search areas. And so you can see on the right there in the downtown area, we have search areas identified really on both sides of Highway 41, because that's another factor when we are thinking about neighborhood parks, and accessibility is also the barrier of having to cross major roads. The downtown area is a very challenging area. If you think about the past, I mean, the downtown developed back in the late 1800s, and that was before there was really the thought about all of the park development and park planning. So a lot of that infrastructure was already established. And so now it can become a little bit of a challenge when you're thinking about where to find park space in a downtown area. But in the southwest part of the downtown, there was a search area there because Hickory Park that currently exists is identified as a mini park, which doesn't quite meet the criteria in size of a neighborhood park. And so that's why that search area is identified in our comp plan. And then another guiding document for to create some context would be the Chaska Downtown Master Plan. And this plan was adopted back in 2012. And it really took a look at the various parts of downtown and really kind of looked at them almost like districts and neighborhoods. And so the area that Guardian Angels falls within would be the downtown west neighborhood area. And again, as they were looking at the neighborhood park in that area, there were really kind of two recommendations that came out of the master plan study. One was looking at partnering with Guardian Angels. Remember I showed you they had that playground site there and some open space. So to consider partnering with them to develop a neighborhood park, and that would ultimately kind of replace Hickory Park. Or there was the thought of expanding Hickory Park where it currently is, along with some of that river levee that it's adjacent to there, into a larger single neighborhood park. So I think it's good for us to kind of understand just some of the guidance in some of the previous documents.
Can you show, or maybe they're pointing where Hickory Park is on here?
Oh, yeah.
Just to remind-
So Hickory Park is located right here.
Oh, okay, right.
So it's right down on the very end of Hickory Street, kind of right along the river levee there. There's a small mini park there. All right, so going back to the concept plan and the overall redevelopment of that site, this language is taken from the developer's concept plan that they submitted into the city. and really just talks about the kind of the overview of the redevelopment site. And again, like, we're not going to get into the details of the overall development because that's really not our purview. That's more for Planning Commission. But just wanted to point out more so the elements pertaining to the gymnasium. And so that is identified as part of their project goals, which is to maintain the community gathering aspects of the existing facilities, especially the gymnasium. And then one of their redevelopment strategies is to utilize the gym as a community gathering place owned by a government entity or community nonprofit focused on providing activities for youth. So kind of understanding that was one of their goals and one of their strategies. As I mentioned, they had initially approached the city to see if we had an interest in the gymnasium, which certainly piqued our interest, you know, and me being an idea guy, I was already starting to think about maybe how that could, you know, and assist in some of the programming and things like that in the community. So we certainly wanted to at least explore the idea further. And so kind of looking at this slide just depicts what that overall redevelopment master plan would look like in the end. So the current school would be converted into apartment units. The gym would stay as is, and then there would be the addition of apartment units and townhomes on the eastern side of the block. So with this plan, that park area would essentially go away as part of this concept. The gym would include the gym, which is essentially a one-court gym, a full court, and then it's got a set of bleachers on both sides. There's a commercial kitchen on one end of the gymnasium. Guardian Angels is known for putting on a lot of large community events, fish fries and sausage dinners and things like that. There's a stage on the opposite end of the gym, and then this gym facility would also include restrooms. So there's currently a male and female restroom facility that would be a part of it.
Is there any updates that would need to happen if it was constructed in 56?
Yep, and that's what we're going to get to next.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's a long time ago.
So, you know, we certainly we're interested in thinking about it, but, you know, before we can even, you know, really get into that level of detail, you know, we as a city really had to kind of better understand what it is we would be acquiring. And so that really comes through in some of the talking points I listed out for us to consider. So the purchase price would be $350,000. And that's another thing to point out is there was kind of an option to consider leasing the space as well. But we as a city would much rather prefer, if we were to pursue this, to own the gym rather than be in a lease situation, so we could control it going into the future. But we did bring in RJM Construction and some of their consultants to do a pretty thorough walkthrough and facility assessment to really understand what would need to be upgraded, along with what it would take to move some of the utilities and mechanicals over to the gym so that it would be a standalone operation versus shared utilities with the apartment building that would be adjacent to it. So this was looking at, you know, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, the building envelope, you know, a whole variety of things. And we got the report back and it came in at about $2.35 million to really kind of bring it up to speed and move everything over to be a standalone operation. You know, and then the other thing that goes into the cost consideration, you know, if we were to acquire this, would obviously be then, you know, what staffing would it take to operate it, you know, and then ongoing maintenance going forward. In addition to cost, I really think there's some timing considerations here too. As you know, and we've talked about, and I know Dave, you've been a part of a kind of a focus group as it relates to the city currently embarking on kind of a campaign for facility improvements and renovations to city facilities, looking at municipal services building, relocating the police department out of City Hall and creating a public safety campus up at the fire station, relocating the library, you know, and then renovating City Hall. You know, and a lot of that is because a lot of our existing city facilities are aging, you know, and at a point where they need to be reinvested back into. So I think that plays into this consideration, along with the fact that we're currently going through a community center master planning process. You know, so I think if we I think out of that, if we determine that there is a community need for more gym space, you know, I think we could look at how we account for it at the community center, rather than needing to operate a whole nother separate facility. And then I put in here the neighborhood park consideration as well. So really, as we look at the gym, you know, I think we would have to look at it as an additional recreation facility rather than a neighborhood park. Just because we wouldn't want to set a precedent that neighborhood parks could include actual facilities with indoor gyms in them. So I just kind of want to make that distinction, and that's why I was creating that context earlier on as it relates to the neighborhood park search area. But then I think about, you know, what are the opportunities on the western side of Chaska? And I would recommend that, you know, we go back to the downtown master plan and the consideration of expanding Hickory Park and see what opportunities are there. But looking ahead, I also feel like there's some opportunities and potential as we look at the public plaza that's going to go into the City Square West redevelopment block, and, you know, what type of activation type things could be within that plaza. And then also, as we look at relocating the library, you know, I think that could be another potential where there could be some outdoor elements on the library site. And so, you know, in the end, it might not mean that we get a 2-3 acre traditional neighborhood park in downtown, but it could be sort of, you know, smaller active places throughout that western side of downtown that are all still walkable. You know, and then there is still Fireman's Park relatively close as well. Again, in the past, crossing Chaska Boulevard was the challenge, but the city has now installed that hawk system, which makes it a little bit easier. You know, so it's kind of trying to paint the picture for you that I think there's some opportunities to account for park components on that western side of downtown as we look into the future. So kind of collectively, as we think about those talking points, And as noted in the staff report in the packet, the staff recommendation is that the Parks and Recreation Commission make a motion to City Council recommending the city does not enter into agreement with the Community Asset Development Group to purchase or lease the Guardian Angels gym. So I know that was a lot, and kind of some moving pieces there, but I guess from here, what I'd like to do is kind of turn it back to you as the commission for some further discussion, comments, questions you may have, as you hear that.
Yeah, like, in their original plan, there is an opportunity for nonprofits to be able to keep the gym and the facility alive and well and going. You know, I don't think it's, if we say, no, we're not interested in this, I don't think that necessarily means that it's gonna be sitting idle. You know, because it is a valuable facility. I mean, we use it, the community uses it a lot. So there may be an opportunity for some kind of consortium to take over and continue the workings of it.
I'm curious, just truly curious why they even put that forth as an option. I mean, developers are gonna develop. I can't imagine they don't have 6 different backup plans for what they would do with that spot. Do you have any idea or any inkling why they proposed that?
To the city?
The city, yeah.
I'm kind of guessing out of courtesy, kind of giving us the first opportunity to look at it, you know, so.
Yeah, and you're right, that may be a, you know, if it doesn't go that way, they may tear it down and put in additional housing or apartments or
I
whatever.
guess, yeah.
I was curious why they wouldn't make it an amenity for their own residents there, if they're gonna put in, you know. But who are these groups? The CADG, and where are they? Where are they from, and who are they? The developers that, and they've already purchased it?
Yeah, well, there's the Carver County, yeah,
That's a developer.
The
That's just
Development
what they call
Authority.
themselves, right? Like, they're not an official
They're
entity
local.
of anything.
what's that?
They're not an official entity of Carver County government, or they
They're
are?
a non,
Community Asset Development Group.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's community,
so they,
That hasn't-
they're partnering with that other developer, the Community Asset Development Group.
so these are two
So there's really
governmental
two,
development groups that are looking to buy it,
yep.
or that have already bought it.
I don't know if they've already bought it yet. Typically, they want to get a little more confirmation from the city and get it, you know, get it into a point where they know it's going to go through
Okay.
before they actually purchase it. But I guess I don't know all the details of where
Okay.
that transaction's at. But the Carver County Development Authority would ultimately own the western half where the existing school is and kind of be the owner of how those are getting converted into apartments. And I think also they would own the gym, from my understanding. And then it's the eastern side of the block where the current residential homes are, along with the park and kind of that courtyard that would be developed by the Community Asset Development Group.
But they're all taxpayer-funded entities that are purchasing this.
I actually think that, so my apartment building is owned by Carver County Asset, and they're technically a nonprofit that provides affordable housing.
Yep.
And so that's what's actually going,
It's gonna be affordable housing.
yeah, it's going to be affordable housing.
That's what the school conversion
Yeah.
will be.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect, good.
But the apartments are not gonna be that, correct?
Yeah,
That's
and
the
I think
22
the
unit one.
eastern side of the block, those would be more market rate
Right. So
apartments.
So the 22 unit one, that's affordable housing, and the one that's on the eastern side of it, that's the 44 unit one, that's gonna be,
More market rate,
okay.
yep.
But they are interested though, from your perspective, based on what you know, of taking that gymnasium, maybe making it available for a nonprofit?
I think that's their intent, yes.
That was in their
Yep.
goals. To be
So
agreed.
they're seeking either a government entity or a nonprofit.
So it sounds like that's just kind of their way to get back to the community, keeping that gym versus tearing it down and making more housing, is how I kind of took it.
Can't be cheap to tear that building down either.
Pardon me?
I said it can't be cheap to tear a building down either.
No. It's,
The other thing, in terms of, perhaps outside the scope of this meeting, but the other way for it to be part of the community is to utilize it for one of the city goals, which might be, if the gym doesn't work out, maybe that could be a site for the library. Again, it's the community, different use, but yet I know they're looking for space for where to put the new library. Maybe it could be renovated for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that wasn't part of their goal, but, it might be another use for it.
Do we have any idea what it would cost to renovate Hickory Park and upgrade that? And obviously, it's not gonna cost $2.5 million.
No. Yeah, we haven't evaluated that yet. To kind of depend to what extent we would renovate it or expand it, and,
I think based off our working session last month, it would probably be significantly less.
yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
any other discussion before we ask for a motion?
I do think that west side of 41 does need some attention, and you kind of said that we should make that a goal to get more parkland over there or renovate Hickory Park. Because crossing over to Fireman's is kind of, kids probably can't do that unattended, and crossing 41 can be dangerous. It just seems like there's always a lot happening on the other side of 41 with the town square and that getting redeveloped, and the west side's just kind of left without as much attention. So I'd like, if we're passing on this, and it sounds like it's the right thing to do to pass on this, I think, but we should make a goal to reinvest in some parkland over there.
Well, the other thing that you mentioned was the city square west, and, the concepts that we looked at there, that there was some pretty good sized areas that were park-like.
Okay.
But weren't designated as a city park or
And probably
neighborhood
within the,
park. And I think that would be one of the goals that we should have, is to make sure that, we participate in the planning. Jason was heavily involved in that before, make sure that we do have recreation areas in the new City West development.
Yeah, that'd be great to see. Maybe, I know all the information's out there and available, but maybe seeing like this is what this is gonna look like over the next several years, because there's so much stuff going on here on this side of 41 that, kind of what you alluded to earlier, that there's gonna be some stuff that's gonna become available that the city could move on at a later date. If it's not just expanding Hickory, there's gonna be lots of other things that might become available in addition to City Square, everything like that. So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to maybe see a condensed version of what all that looks like in the next however many years. Here's what the west side of 41 is going to look like in the next 10 years.
Yep. There could even be things we incorporate over at Athletic Park,
Yep.
too, so.
Let's put a park at Shram Brewery.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I second that.
You can ride that trail all the way to Carver, and there's some cool outdoor stuff out there, but it'd be nice to have some stuff closer to home.
Very true.
Any other discussion? Can we have a motion to recommend to the city council should not enter into an agreement with CADG to lease or purchase the Guardian Angels Gymnasium?
Motion that.
The guy over here.
I second the motion.
Carly seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item. Discussion items, Community Center Master Plan Update.
All right. Well, Well, before I kind of give any update, I thought I would turn it over to either Donnell or Zach if you want to give sort of an update to the commission thus far
Sure.
on kind of your experience and involvement so far.
Yeah, absolutely. We had our first meeting this last month, at which I learned how to properly pronounce Donnell's last name. Hi. It was a fantastic meeting. It was really great to have everybody in there. All the groups that are facilitating the project just kind of led everybody through a discussion. We did introductions and kind of led us through a discussion about what this whole process looks like. And I think our big homework coming out of that was to help identify more groups that would maybe need to be contacted and brought into the conversation of anybody that we hadn't already connected with. And I think we agreed to meet the third Wednesday of every month now moving forward. There's a website that's up and active right now that people can go and look at progress, updates, plans, minutes. I mean, it's kind of got everything on it. And I think that's going to just continue to evolve that website as we move along in the project.
Yep.
What is the website?
It is, Donnell told me she was going to tell everybody that today.
You can go to, it's
I can't
at
remember what
the
the website
Chaska Community Center
Yeah.
home website, right on the home page.
There's a link
There's
to
a
it.
link to it?
So kind of in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see like a visual that says master plan on it.
I don't remember the URL, I'm sorry. I just link onto it.
Yeah. ChaskaCommunityCenter.com. And I can send that out to everybody too.
Yeah, but first meeting went great. It was a lot of fun to see everybody there, and really you could feel the excitement. And they talked a lot about kind of where the sort of the industry of community centers are around the country right now, and where we've been the last 30 years with our property here, and how that compares to other places. And the people leading this project have a lot of experience in this around the country, and seem to have a really firm grasp of where community centers have been historically, where ours has been, and where they're at, and where they need to go moving forward. So, it felt really good to me. I don't know if you got any
The
other
only thing
takeaways?
I would add to that is they prefaced it as this is the meeting where the reality check kind of hits, and it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like, I was expecting them to come and say, yeah, everything's got to go. It's like crumbling from beneath. This clay soil is just disintegrating the building from the bottom up. But it wasn't anything that bad. I mean, certainly there are expenses. It's an old building, but I did not leave feeling like we had anything unobtainable. I really think there's a lot of good opportunity there. That's the impression I left with.
Yeah, no, it's great. A lot of good energy in that room.
And how long are they expecting that group to meet?
Was that
For
through
weeks or
10?
months or?
Yeah, it was.
8 to 10 months?
It was something like that. Yeah, through the end of the year, into the new year, kind of a thing.
Yep.
Good.
What were some of the items that they had brought up as far as, needing to get the building?
Apparently
up to
there's a
snuff?
super sketchy staircase in the back of the building, and then there's some retaining wall heaving that looked just like my backyard.
One of the consultants had taken some pictures and they put it up on the slide projector and everything.
They're on the website here.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything other than that specifically.
Yeah, I mean, just major mechanicals are at or beyond their life expectancy. The roof needs pretty much a full roof replacement. That's a major
Is
ticket
that like
item.
mechanicals throughout or a specific area or just kind of everything?
Sort of throughout, and, I mean, we've already had to replace some of them because they've failed in the last
Yeah, I
couple,
remember
2-3 years. So,
Yeah,
we're kind of reacting as we go right now.
yeah, right.
But that's just going to keep coming at us
Yeah.
until we get it all replaced. So,
We need a new roof, though. I mean, 212 Medical Center is quite inspiring, going up a full story. That's true.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're going up at, 3 different steps? They've got one going up one floor, another one going up 2, and,
Maybe they'll loan us the crane.
Yep.
There you go.
I agree. Yeah, I think what we were trying to establish, like what Donnell was saying, kind of a little bit of the reality was really kind of around the idea of what's our current kind of condition of the facility
Yeah.
and some of the challenges there. And then what's kind of our current sort of financial state, you know, in terms of operating the facility. Just so everybody kind of understands, you know, where we're at. And so I think that was good to talk through. And it was actually, I think, nice to hear from the consultants, you know, we're not alone, you know, that, you know, even with some of our, you know, financial challenges, and a lot of that just is pretty much due to the, you know, just the fact we haven't really accounted for the depreciation of the building over time and the major capital. But aside from that, we're actually doing quite well compared to a lot of other community centers across the country, you know, given the size of that facility, you know, and the service area that it's targeting. So I thought that was good information to hear.
It was interesting too, when they looked at, like the demographic, the shifts over time, in terms of what our population was at point A and here's where it is now, and you just think about, you take all those things into account.
Yeah.
And, you know, memberships, costs, you know, everything, you name it, and it's just, we're in a good spot, but it's almost like we need to get on this, have this conversation now and get in action so we don't get into some of those worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
One of the consultants had said, based on what our population was when this facility was built, there's not a chance he would have recommended building this large of a facility. There's no way would I have said to build this large of a facility for what we were, which I thought was super interesting, and was like.
Do you think that's why we're in such a better position compared to other community centers, because we were bigger than we needed to be when we built? Or is it something else that stands out about us that we're faring better than other community centers?
It's a good question. I'm guessing it's kind of a multifaceted answer, but I think you know, the thing I really think plays into what he was getting at is when the building was built 30 years ago, you know, while the population was a little lower, we were a destination facility. We were a one of a kind in the metro area. So we drew from all over. And that's just not the case anymore. You know, now Victoria's got a community center, Chanhasen's got a community center, Shakopee's got one, Eden Prairie's got one. You got Lifetime, you got Snap, you know, there's so many other options for people. But I think what's unique about the community center is, you know, it's not just a fitness center, it's a community center, and there's these variety of things that bring people together and want to be there. And I almost feel like there are some advantages of it being that big and having that many things in it. Compared to some other cities, pretty typical for your ice arena to be detached, you know, and it's its own facility, you know, or maybe the senior center is a completely detached, you know, facility, you know, but having those things all there, I think it just intercepts more people, and people come there for a variety of different reasons, which is why I'd want to ideally keep that all together if possible. Well, I thought the first, task force meeting went well. I think it was, like Zach said, a lot of good energy. People were excited to be there. It's a little more, I think, presentation style, that first meeting, because he's had to kind of get a lot of information out. You know, but the goal will be for it to be a little bit more interactive going forward. So we're planning our next meeting, which is next week, Wednesday, the 18th. You know, and I think at that meeting, you know, a big outcome will be really kind of defining what our objectives are. You know, what does success look like to the group? You know, so that as we kind of go about more community engagement and more planning, you know, that we're kind of coming back to, what are those defined objectives that we set forth in the beginning, and are we meeting those? So I think that'll be some good discussion. We're also currently working on scheduling the variety of focus group conversations. So big thanks to Mary. She's the one coordinating those meetings. And it's a kind of a combination. We're intentionally bringing some people together via Zoom that represent different organizations. That way, as that conversation's happening, I think it's good for other entities to understand kind of the needs and aspirations of other user groups of the building. And then there's some organizations that we want to sit down and have more in-person discussion. So as you think about our current lease tenants within the building, we want to have more in-person discussion. I think the school district, just being such a larger partner, we want to meet with in person as well. So kind of a combination of some virtual and some in-person conversations. City staff will not be a part of those focus group discussions. It's really intended for the consultant to meet with them and for those groups to, provide them, feedback without staff being in that conversation to sway anything, and then they'll report back to us what some of the common themes are. And then the hope is once we've engaged some of these focus groups, that they're going to continue to be engaged kind of throughout the planning process, in addition to other community members having the ability to engage, because we're going to end up doing, some open house events. We're going to be putting together a statistically valid survey that's going to go out. I anticipate we'll utilize the website and some social media to interact as well. So a lot more to come on the community engagement piece of it.
Okay, moving on. Item 8B, facility naming rights and sponsorship update.
All right, so this would be with the superlative group who we've contracted with. I did get a preliminary draft report from them yesterday. I think it's about a 50-page report, so I'll be honest, I have not read it in detail yet. So don't have a lot to share with you tonight, but I guess a couple of things that stand out that I would share with you, looking at especially the Curling and Event Center. It appears that it's being valuated at, there's some value there. I think that, we're going to have to explore further. The other interesting thing was they, kind of one of their metrics, it was sort of a 5-scale, and this is just one of many metrics they use, but there were five things that they looked at, and again, I'm not remembering everything, but some of it was like, I think one of the line items was prestige of the facility, and on down. But you could score a 1 out of 10, so a perfect would be 50. And the Curling and Event Center ultimately scored at a 41, which, to put it in perspective, they said that a good amount of facilities that they work with generally score in the mid to upper 30s, and that like Yankee Stadium would be a 47, so I thought that was pretty good. But so my plan is going to be, obviously I gotta read it in more detail and kind of understand what the report's all saying. I'm gonna then have a follow-up meeting with our city administrator to review it with him, and then really probably bring it back to, I know Dave and Zach were interested in kind of being a part of the committee going forward. But I think we got to kind of think about what our next steps are going to be in terms of community engagement, you know, and kind of what our recommendation is going to be to come back to the Park Commission and City Council as it relates to whether or not we want to move on to phase 2 and what that looks like. I will share with you as it relates to a little bit of community feedback. So we just finished up our winter curling league over at the curling center. And the manager there, Jeff Isaacson, puts out kind of an end of season survey to the members over the past few years. And so that went out just a few weeks ago. And so I actually inserted a question in there, kind of around this. I felt like while we have the curlers' attention, let's get a little bit of feedback. And so really kind of made note that the city is working with a consultant in exploring the potential for naming rights and sponsorship revenue as it relates to parks and recreation facilities, and then noted or kind of posed the question, would you support this potential new revenue source at the Curling and Events Center as a way to help fund an expansion of the Players Lounge? And the options were yes, an expansion of the Players Lounge would be great, and I support, you know, looking at naming rights and sponsorship revenue. Another option was yes, expansion of the Players Lounge would be great, however, I don't support naming rights or sponsorship revenue. And we asked if they selected that to indicate why. And then there was a third option, no, we don't need to expand the Players Lounge. And so the results of that survey came back, and I think it came in about 86% indicated yes, that they were in favor of expanding the Players Lounge, along with looking at the potential for naming rights and sponsorship revenues. I thought that was good feedback, but there were a lot of good comments in there too, for us to consider as we kind of think about those next steps going forward. So I anticipate there'll be much more of an update at our meeting next month as we kind of work on some of those things between now and then.
Will we get to see that report?
Yeah. Yep. I'd say this is kind of a preliminary draft at this point, because the intent is that we could still provide feedback back to Superlative for them to update it before it becomes available. So.
I'm curious if during this process you've kind of formulated your own opinion about like a dollar amount at which it's worth it versus not worth it for the Curling and Event Center.
Me personally?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've been working on it.
Yeah. That's a good question. I mean, I want to be careful that this isn't just, you know, my idea that I'm pushing through. It's got to obviously be supported by more people in the community. But I think in general, if it's a dollar amount that can finance the expansion of the Players Lounge 100%, to me that would be worth exploring, you know, because I think right now it'd be difficult to look at how else we would finance an expansion, and I really do think that it kind of is needed at that facility, you know, just as we're thinking about hosting Bonspiel events, and I think creating sort of that true club atmosphere for the members there, and that really was some of the feedback that came through in their comments, was really kind of wanting that space rather than feeling like they got to hang out in the restaurant. So to me, I think you know, that would be a way to look at it. And then the icing on the cake would be if there was even additional that could go towards just building up funds for,
Expanding Hickory Park.
yeah, I think we would want to focus on keeping it within the facility. You know, but I'm thinking more just, again, covering depreciation and large capital items, you know, over time. And
No, that's helpful. That's a concrete,
So-
it's all been very abstract up to this point. So that is a good earmark for me to kind of think about.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Have you talked to any contractors about what it might cost to do the renovation to expand the Players Lounge?
I think it's right around, I think it got looked at a few years ago. There were actually kind of some architectural drawings that were done and kind of some high-level cost estimates. I want to say it was about $1 million to $1.5 million to do that expansion. It's probably a little higher in today's market, but probably, I'm assuming $1.5 million, $2 million, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Well, part of the formula is not only the amount per year, it's the number of years that you get in the contract too. So,
Yep.
you know, if you get $100,000 a year for 10 years, you can afford to spend $1 million. If you get it for 15, you can afford to spend $1.5 million, theoretically.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it typically a yearly thing, or is it a upfront for X number of years? Or how do they?
Typically, it's covered over a term.
Yeah.
Anywhere, I would say, between 10 and 25 years. So
Yeah,
usually, they try to align it kind of with, like if it's a new build, they'll typically aim for a 25-year term, just because that's typically about the time when you're going to go through a major facility renovation. You know, so they kind of look at the age of the building and try to figure that out. So the Curling and Event Center being relatively new, you know, I would hope that they're going to push for more of a 20-year term.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons that we selected the Superior Group, was that their hit track record has been that they've been able to gain some longer-term contracts for naming rights from companies. And that was one of the things we were interested in too.
I'm just thinking of like TCF Bank Stadium is now Huntington Bank
Yeah.
Stadium, but that didn't seem, I don't know, I guess maybe the stadium was built longer.
Well, that
It just didn't seem.
that was a purchase, right?
Was it?
I think it was. I think the banks changed hands.
Changed hand, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happens too, and I think it's something for us to be mindful of. So depending on sort of the market you're going into, you know, there's certain markets that just tend to get different acquisitions, you know, like you think about like cellular companies and things like that. They get bought out and then renamed, so.
That's part of the risk that you run in getting into this.
Yep.
I worked for 3 companies that were sold.
Look how great you turned out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. It'll be good to be able to see that and start seeing some more concrete stuff, and getting the information out to the community and getting their feedback on the thing will be really important.
Yep.
Because there's lots of people, I think I mentioned last time that, you know, there's lots of people out there that are really nervous about this stuff. You know, you're selling the city. So,
I think too, I think you've got a really good way to frame it though to people, to make it so it's not just that we're trying to slap a sticker on everything. It's, we want to be self-sustaining from a funding standpoint.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an easy way to explain it.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay, we ready to move on to the next item?
Yep.
Okey dokey. Item 8C is pedestrian and bicycle master plan update.
All right, so, So we're currently kind of still in this internal review period of the draft plan before it goes out to be kind of a public review of the plan. And I think kind of the main thing I just need to get across is I'm learning that the engineering components within this plan are requiring a decent amount more of internal discussion just as it relates to our engineering department, our community development department, and how it sort of coordinates with some of our previous plans, like I mentioned earlier, our downtown master plan is an example, you know, in our comp plan, and just kind of some of our policies and ordinances as it relates to infrastructure and redesigning roads and things like that. So, so I'm not exactly sure what that timeline's going to be, just because it's dependent on other department heads, and as we talked about, you know, a lot of other departments are extremely busy right now. But I'm doing my best to, you know, to continue to have those conversations and, you know, get us to a point where, you know, even though it might seem like we're kind of dragging here, the key is we want a plan that's going to be implementable, and we want a plan that, you know, all of the departments are going to support and get behind. And so it's worth us taking that additional time and really understanding it internally. So it's just going to take a little while longer before we get there. But that doesn't mean we can't still do, you know, some of the other things within the plan that we're working on, you know, as it relates to more of the education and encouragement and things like that. And, a great example is, you know, we're currently in the month of May, which is National Bike Month, and we've got a lot of great things going on around that. Last week was National Bike to School Day, and so our recreation program manager, Aaron Link, connected with one of the Phi-Ed teachers over at Clover Ridge Elementary School, who's shown some interest in kind of promoting the idea of biking to school. And that person really did kind of help promote it throughout that couple weeks leading up to it. And so Aaron, along with, then we had a few of our police officers show up at the school that morning as well. But it was awesome. I think there were over 100 kids that biked to school that day. I meant to bring some pictures, but it was so cool to see that. I mean, there were like bikes leaned up against trees trying to like park them, and you know, parents were coming in with their kids, and it was just kind of a real kind of celebratory morning, and just seeing all the smiles on everybody's faces, and so I think this is a really good example that it works. You know, if there's a little bit of promotion behind it, there's a way to do it. And so now we're kind of talking with, you know, who are the champions in the other schools, you know, and how can we kind of create that momentum, you know, for some of the other schools throughout Chaska to promote it, because I think you can really look to this as a great example of kids and families biking to school. If you can do it one day, you can do it other days.
That's so cool.
Is that something that can be broadcast to the community and certainly the other schools, and how successful it was? And
Yeah.
maybe some quotes from the guy, the phys ed teacher that was behind it or whatever?
Yeah, we're working on putting out some pictures and kind of highlighting it on Instagram and Facebook to kind of share the success with the community.
Yeah. It'd be nice to really make them successful, and then, you know, then have other schools want to emulate, you know,
Yeah.
rather than us or you trying to sell it to other schools. They let the other elementary schools sell it to them.
Yep.
That's great.
And then next week, Friday, May 20th is Bike to Work Day. So we're going to be promoting that within and encourage city staff to bike to work. And I think we've partnered with Red Bench to even have some treats at City Hall and or the community center. But
Are you biking from Egan?
I would, I have in the past, yes. Unfortunately, I think I might be taking that day off this year. Thursday night is my wife and I's anniversary, so we had some plans. But I will make up for it on a different day for sure.
I have no doubt.
But I would encourage all of you to, look at that where, at your respective workplaces, and try to encourage employees to consider biking to work one day. Give it a try. And then on Saturday, May 21st, part of our kind of recreation agreement with the city of Carver, we're hosting a community bike rodeo event over at their fire station. So it's an opportunity for kids to kind of come out and learn some of the basics about riding bike. And then on the May 24th, we have planned a free community bike ride. So if you're interested and available, that's going to start out at Lions Park, I think at 5:30.
6.
Or 6, okay.
6 to
o'clock.
8:30.
Yep.
What's the date on that?
The 24th,
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 24th.
PM, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I was going to
Normally it had been on a Saturday.
Yep, yeah, we're trying something different this year and just doing a weeknight, so.
Georgianne, didn't you do that last year?
Yeah, this is where I think 80% of us were on e-bikes.
That's right, that's right. So maybe a 5:30 start.
It was a lot
of
of
Yeah. Yeah, and then on our website, we have kind of throughout the month a bike bingo option. So there's a bingo card with a lot of just different ideas for people and families to do throughout the month around biking. So,
I think I saw those at the community center on the desk.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
bingo cards, yeah.
Moving on to 8D, we ready?
Yep.
East Creek Canyon Park update.
All right. So as you recall from our work session that we held last month, East Creek Canyon is one of the neighborhood parks that is due for a playground replacement this year as part of our capital asset management program. So we conducted a neighborhood meeting back on Wednesday, April 20th. We had full intentions of conducting that out at their park, but as we all remember April, it pretty much rained every day, and that was the case that night. So we had a backup plan and held the meeting inside at the lodge over at the community center and had put up signage at the park to notify people. And I was pleasantly surprised. I think we had over 20 people attend the meeting that night, so that was great. Scott Selkin from the Public Works Department did a really good job sort of explaining the project. We reviewed with them the recommended playground that we were going to install there. And kind of just talked about timeline and what that would look like. In addition to the playground replacement, we'll also be looking at removing all of the pea gravel that currently exists within the playground container and moving to a more of an engineered wood chip that'll go in there. That neighborhood park will also get irrigation installed in there. That's currently not there right now. Plant a few more trees to bring in some shade and a couple more benches. So the residents were just thrilled. I mean, it was kind of just a happy fest that night. They were very excited about what the playground looked like. They really liked the merry-go-round feature that we put in there, or recommended for them. They did ask about whether or not there would be the option to install like kind of a half-court basketball, or maybe a additional concrete for 4 square or something like that. And so I think we recommended we'll kind of see where the budget lands as we install it all. But, you know, couldn't quite commit to it that night, but we're certainly going to try to aim to account for that. But super well-connected community. The residents seem like they all really knew each other. And sounds like they have quite a few gatherings at the park, so it's just neat to hear. So excited about it. But if all things goes as planned, we're probably looking at like a late August install for that new neighborhood park playground.
Item 8E, Harvest West Development Park update.
All right, so the Harvest West development over in southwest Chaska, off of Savannah Way there, is where the future brand new neighborhood park that is being planned will go. And so we're looking to conduct kind of an initial neighborhood meeting. I believe you all should have gotten a calendar invite for Wednesday evening, May 25th, where we'll meet on site. We've already sent a letter to all of the residents that live over there, so that they're aware of it. And then if it isn't already, I'll connect with some of the neighbors I know over there to make sure it goes up on their, I think they got a neighborhood Facebook group, just to kind of spread the word a little bit more about that neighborhood meeting. But this initial meeting, I would say kind of the intention of it is really to bring the neighborhood together, introduce the project, I think generally talk about the conditions of the park site. I think really highlight some of the work that's already been done with some of the wetland restoration stuff and some of the upland kind of work that's been done. What's that?
It's also a restoration.
Yeah, upland restoration. And then just sort of generally lay out where we think, you know, the playground and some of the other, you know, amenities would be within that site, and a general layout of where we think some of the trail alignment would be within that park site, and have that kind of marked out and do a little bit of a walkthrough and gather feedback from the residents. So really it's just kind of, step one is, you know, generally just kind of understanding what the project is and where we think things are going to go and getting feedback on that. In the letter, we did indicate if individuals aren't able to attend that meeting, that they have the ability to contact me and provide any comments or questions that they may have that we can bring forward to that neighborhood meeting as well. So looking forward to that, and then, you know, I think from there, we'll then kind of the next step will be, you know, bringing back some recommendations on, you know, what type of, you know, playground and amenities will go in there. And I think as we kind of get going a little bit further, we'll get a better understanding of the timeline. But I think our goal would be to kind of go through a planning process throughout this summer and early fall and get your recommendation and city council approval yet this fall, and for Public Works to be able to get some of the kind of what I would call hardscaping in, you know, some of the rough cut of the trail and maybe the concrete container where the playground would go. And then look at more of the playground installation for next spring. Would be kind of our ideal timeline we're looking at.
Great. Can we insert another item in here? Excuse me, would you like to bring something up to the board?
No, I think I missed my chance here. I'm sorry I showed up late, but I was just curious what kind of a gym we have over there at Guardian Angels, you know? I'm just curious what RJM Construction found and what the recommendation was here.
Sure.
I missed all that, so apologize.
Yeah, we went through, Marshall made a presentation for us, and we ended up recommending that the city not pursue leasing or purchase of the gym, that it looked like it would be relatively expensive to update that and move all the mechanicals to make that an independent facility there.
Was that one of the big items?
That was one of the significant items, yes. And, you know, the city right now has got multiple properties that are aging quite rapidly. We're going to be relocating the police station. We're going to be redoing the maintenance facility. We're going to be moving the library. We're going to be renovating the city hall. So we've got lots and lots of things going on, and the renovation of the gymnasium there did not seem like something that we could do in the near future.
Yeah. Is there a certain value in the gym otherwise to the city in terms of that it could potentially hold a large size gathering? Or how does the city see the value?
Well, I think, you know, I think everybody has said it's been a great facility for the city, you know, for meetings, and the stage has been used before, and the, you know, things that are currently there. It's a value to the city, certainly, but it's not something that we as a park department, Parks and Rec, could really justify putting in our portfolio. It would have to fall into that, basically an extension of the community center. So.
Curious to know too how much the construction firm estimated the cost to separate the school from the gym would be.
Marcia, what was it,
Came in at about 2.3 million.
2.3 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
To really kind of move things for it to be kind of a standalone facility, along with just kind of the general upgrades needed.
So more than just separating the school from the gym, but to really make it a community standard level
Yep.
facility to have community events.
Yeah, and just like upgrading, I'd say actually more just, it was more focused on upgrading, like, yeah, just the mechanicals and the plumbing and the building envelope. And I mean, outside of that, you know, the report was that, you know, the overall like bones of the facility are still in really good shape, but there would be some significant cost, you know, to upgrade the mechanicals and whatnot, and then also to move them.
Yeah.
Father,
That report could come handy for Mr. Picorni and us to chew on, and as he contemplates what he's gonna.
Could you speak up a little bit so we could hear you up here,
The
please?
report could come in handy for us, you know, as we contemplate who could use that gym and how we could make this redevelopment work, you know.
And we should probably really have you come to the
Oh, sure.
podium,
Okay, yeah,
just
sorry.
because there could be
Yeah.
people
Okay.
not hearing.
The RJM construction report could come in handy for us as we try to make the numbers work, you know, between us, the seller, and
Mr. Picorni and his group the buyer, so I don't know if there'd be some access to that report, but it would have some interesting findings, I'm sure. So, I don't know how
Father, I had a
that, I don't know
question.
how that could work, but
I
yes.
was curious, because I recognize your face, you're
Yeah.
with Guardian, you're the,
Yes,
Your
by the
Guardian
way,
Angels.
Father Tony Vanderloop, pastor at Guardian Angels Catholic Church in town, yeah.
what would you like to see happen with the property and the gym?
Well, I would like to see it be more utilized, and, you know, I guess I'm speaking a little bit more progressively compared to some members of our community. You know, they would like to certainly retain use of the gym because we have large-scale events that we're able to do in it. But on the other hand, everyone in our community acknowledges that those events are not so frequent, you know. So I would like to see it be well utilized for the sake of the community and have some kind of a partnership with the city to not only use it on a more week-to-week or even day-to-day basis, but then allow us to have the large-scale events that we've been so accustomed to having, you know. So, but, yeah, it's not too surprising to me that the devil is in the details, so to speak, you know, with all the mechanical considerations. The heating and plumbing and so forth flows from the school to the gym, as you probably know, and to separate that out from the apartments to such a community center, I was just curious how much that alone would cost, you know, but because that's going to be a real factor as we go forward.
Given that, do you mind if I?
Go ahead, no, thanks for sharing.
Given that block will be redeveloped regardless, is there something about that location for having large-scale community gatherings that is of particular interest? Or if there was a space comparable to that in the community, is that an option as well?
I think it is. You know, I've tried to express to our parishioners, you know, that we need to change. Yes, the gym is a block away. It's always been seen as part of our property, and it would continue to be seen in a way where, yes, it's just right across the street. But, you know, I try to tell them, for example, I was up in Monticello before I came to Chaska, and we had a Valentine's Day dinner dance put on by the Knights of Columbus at the community center, you know, or what they called the Mississippi Room, you know, so we need to think a little bit more broadly in our future. So that's part of the conversation that we're having in our community, you know. But on the other hand, you know, when you put on a 700-person fish fry, it's something that they've come to know and love. And I try to tell them too, you know, when you close a school, that Catholic churches without schools have 200-person social halls, not 700-person gyms, you know, and Catholic churches with schools, well, then they have a gym, you know. So this is kind of a conversion to being a non-school parish or a school parish to a non-school parish, you know, and so we have to think that way as well. But the hard part is going to be making all these numbers work, you know, and finding a user of the gym. You know, Mr. Picorni needs that to make his numbers work, you know, so hopefully we'll be able to do that. But a lot of that is going to be dependent on how we handle the separation between the apartments that would go in the school and then the gym, which would be for a different purpose. You know, how would we separate that infrastructure? So I'm curious to know what some of those costs are. So,
Marshall, this is going before the planning board tomorrow and then the city council on the following day.
Yep.
After that city council meeting, is there any reason why the father couldn't have the report from the company that we have?
No, it's, you know, submitted to the city, so it's public information. So I'll connect with our city administrator and have him.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I need to connect with them too on a couple of items. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does the Park and Recreation Board have any anything to do with zoning things historically and things like that. I need to talk with the city administrator about that too, so,
Yep,
yeah,
yep, that would be, that would fall more out with the planning commission.
planning commission, okay.
Yep.
Okay, good, good, yeah. Well, good to come today and sort
Well, I
of
wish you
find my
luck.
way around here with the
I wish
city
you luck
and
in
get to
finding,
meet you a little bit.
I wish you luck in finding suitable uses for that gym, because
Yeah.
it certainly has held up well
Yeah.
for the community for a
Yeah.
long, long time.
Yeah, it's a nice large structure and seems to have the bones, as you said, so, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if we can, we'll go back on the agenda then. Department happenings. Marshall?
All right, I really just kind of have one to highlight. And that's you'll see some things coming out shortly. We were able to partner with the Chaska Rotary last fall. They had approached us wanting to do some more things to partner and do good things in the community, and they had targeted the month of May, because the month of May is also Water Safety Month as well. And so they helped apply for a grant, and were successful in getting some grant funding, and then partnering with us in our aquatics department to be able to put on some water safety classes, you know, really geared towards, you know, individuals in the community, youth that might not normally be able to afford swim lessons. So I think we're able to account for about 50 kids, and we're looking at, it won't be like traditional swim lessons. It's really more about just kind of introducing them to water and talking about safety. And so I think we're gonna look at putting on like maybe a 3-day water safety camp that meets like once a week. So kind of a really cool thing. We're excited about it. It's a very important life skill for all kids to have access to learn. Probably the biggest challenge, quite frankly, is finding the lifeguards to be able to actually carry this out. And that was one thing we talked about when we met with Rotary. You know, was just, we want a partner, we want to do the good things in the community, but lifeguards, as you may know right now, is, I mean, it's a national challenge. Our community center manager just emailed me the other day an article she saw from the city of Denver, Colorado. Due to the shortage, they're having to close half of their city pools. So they get like 30 different city pools that won't even open. So you have to continue to kind of strategize, you know, what that's going to look like into the future. But yeah, so we're going to get the word out on that, and we're relying on some members of Rotary, and one of the members in Rotary is a school teacher to help get that information out. So look forward to updating you on how that goes.
I've done, my past as a swim instructor, I've done a lot of those different events, and the kids always like really surprise you with actually how like good they are, and like, and how much they like overcome. So it's a really incredible experience.
Yeah.
And especially for like your swim instructors too. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that that's going through.
Yeah, I think they'll enjoy it. And you know, one of the things, or a big area we want to focus on too, is open water, you know, and safety skills in open water. So I think we're going to have even enough funding where we might be able to outfit every kid with a life jacket and maybe a pair of goggles and some things like that. So be good. So continue to find ways where we can partner and do good things in the community.
Anything else, Marshall, and department happenings?
That's it.
Okay. Other business, roundtable.
All So I wanted to highlight that there was prescribed fire going on in the city of Chaska, and the importance of it for our ecosystems. So I know that it can seem kind of annoying when you have a lot of smoke happening, or it can like block roadways or anything, but it's something that happens once every 3 to 5 years. And if you don't take care of if you want to have a prairie, you have to burn the prairie, and it's a indigenous practice as well. And so it's just something that I think that we need to be really excited that that's happening, and that our community is doing it, and we get cool prairie sites that have it. So
Is this going to be, was this a one-time event and they're going to do it now again in 3 years, or is it
Yep, so
several different patches of prairie that they're going to be burning this year?
So it looks like they did it at 2 sites this year, and so those 2 sites will probably be burned again in 3 years, possibly. I say 3 to 5 because it's very, very weather dependent. So typically people, we don't typically know if we're going to burn until a couple days before. But yeah, it's a way to increase that health of the prairie systems, and prairies are an endangered ecosystem. Less than 1% of that remains, and so it's something that it's really an important part that we need, especially for our pollinators. That's where the majority of our pollinators in this area get their nectar, and fire helps with that. It helps to increase diversity. If you don't burn it, what happens is you end up with a big thatch layer, and it shades out the rest of the plants, and it decreases that diversity.
Where were these burns?
I think I know for sure one was on Angler, I think, and Audubon, and I don't remember where the other one was.
Danielle?
2 things. I will give a shout out to Southwest Christian High School. They brought back their apiary, their 3 beehives, and so going up at apiaries, thank you. And they did that for the first time last year, from what I could tell, and it's really, really neat to see, once the swarm gets out, how far these 3 beehives supply honeybees to the entire neighborhood. It's really fantastic to see, so I think that's a great program that they're doing there. And then also I participated in Christmas in May this last Saturday. I was very inspired. I have honestly never participated in something quite that fabulous in terms of giving back to the community, and I encourage everybody to get the word out for next year, and I know my family will probably participate every year going forward that we can. It was really, really great to see how many people in our community and in Carver turned up just to help out families within the greater Chaska area.
That's great. Finished up swim lessons. My 9-year-old, she passed. But interesting, it almost feels like a program, lifeguards, that feeds itself, because her instructor talked to her at her age about maybe someday she might consider being a lifeguard. And that stuck in her mind. So she's talking about that now. She's in 3rd grade, and she's 9 years old, about maybe being a lifeguard at some point. So that was kind of timely and interesting. Appreciate you bringing up the Christmas in May thing, because Saturday morning I was out at Home Depot and I saw our city administrator and one of our city council members there loading up on stuff, and I just right away, it's Christmas in May. So it's really wonderful that goes on in our community. I don't have a whole lot else to add today. Very excited about what's going on with the community center project, because every time I go in there, I think at some point we're going to get an actual big family bathroom, locker room type thing going on in there. So even though I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Jason?
Just one thing, Thursday evening, 4:30 at the Chaska High School, the Chaska Youth Softball Association is holding youth night. So if anybody wants to come out there, I think they're gonna have hot dogs and grab bags for the kids, and you get to watch the varsity girls softball team play a game. So if anybody's interested, 4:30 Thursday.
It's over at the high school.
Yeah.
Nice.
Taste of Chaska is happening tomorrow.
Yep.
They
Got rescheduled.
They rescheduled.
They rescheduled?
What's the new
Because of the
date?
Next
thunderstorms coming?
Wednesday, 18th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
Actually, I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah, I would have been there when
I know. Okay, so never
Would've been me
mind.
and
But it's
Dave
coming
hanging
up.
Me,
The
Dave, and
18th.
Liz hanging out.
Yeah, there's supposed to be some potential for severe storms tomorrow night, so they got rescheduled.
Right. And then Marshall already covered all the stuff going on for National Bike Month. I've been loving the Chaska Parks Instagram. I see feeds. I love it. It tells me what's going on. Pictures. I love it. So thanks to whoever got that up and running. And then park run. I did one park run last year, I think, when it first kind of came back to Chaska, or started in Chaska. And then I recently read somewhere that they kind of joined up with another group, I think. I don't know if you've heard about that or where, but so it's free. It's every Saturday. It's down by the government center. Now that hopefully we kind of turned a corner with the weather, I encourage everybody to go check it out, do the park run. It's free. Lots of people walk. You don't have to run. And then I think if you're looking for social opportunities, people then, head out to the various coffee shops or bakeries in the town too. So lots of community there if you attend the park run.
I also was involved in Christmas in May on Saturday, and again, very gratifying. The homeowner, very, I think, so appreciative. Amazing what they do in one day. I mean, they just totally renovated this house, the kitchen, and also all new appliances. Just amazing. Tiny little house. My contribution, I got to help with totally landscaping the yard, which was a lot of fun, and a lot of tree trimming. Some guy with a great chainsaw. That was so satisfying as well. So yeah, what a great.
It sounds therapeutic for
Oh
you.
my God, yes. It was a great day. It was a little windy, but it was a wonderful day for that, so that was fun. I had a question. So I see at the community center they're moving some of the equipment, and I know you had mentioned that previously. Where did they decide that they're going back into the big where it used to be? Where the
Yep,
okay.
yep.
All of it?
Plans to put it back where it originally was.
So I thought, was some consideration maybe would go back in one of those racquetball courts too, but no.
We explored that as an idea. It got a little cost prohibitive when we realized we needed to meet ADA compliance on the doorway going in, and so it just didn't warrant that expense.
Okay.
So
Mike,
we'll see. We're constantly learning,
Yeah.
navigating this whole situation.
Pardon me?
You're done.
I'm done now, yes.
He's cutting off.
Yeah, you're done. That wasn't a question.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Scott and Brian from the Public Works. I know they're working hard to get fields open. Obviously I'm passionate about soccer and coaching soccer. Some fields are open. My field that I want to open is McKnight, and not open quite yet, but hopefully maybe it still comes. I don't know. They got the goals all chained up, so it not looking too promising for right away, but definitely other fields around here in other communities, so that's great. And I'm also looking forward, so I was working with Scott, so next Tuesday, I'm taking my team. I have 11-year-old girls to go clean up McKnight Park, so we're going to spend a couple hours Tuesday evening going through and picking up trash, and so I'm kind of looking forward to that and teaching them how to give back, so it's great. That's all I have.
My grandson, 5, plays flag football, and it's the Chaska Parks and Rec in conjunction with Chan, and they play over at the Chan High School. And it's amazing. It's 900 kids And
Holy cow.
the coaches are godsend, you know, to go out there and have the patience with these guys, you know. It's absolutely incredible, you know, so I was very pleased with that. That's all I got this time.
I got one other thing that I forgot to mention, kind of relating to the city facilities. And kind of, the next step in that process is conducting some public open houses. So if you hadn't seen it already, I think it did get posted on social media, maybe last week, but the city is planning on conducting open houses next week, Thursday, May 19th. Let's see here, from 5:30 to 7:30, and then also Saturday morning of May 21st, from 10 a.m. till noon. And there's the opportunity to go over to the Municipal Services Building and kind of do a walkthrough and understand what's being proposed there. And then the other site would be City Hall. And there'd be the opportunity to kind of tour through the police station, along with kind of just the remainder of this facility here at City Hall. So it's really meant for kind of the community to come in, see what the city's looking at, and share feedback as part of that process for those facilities.
Yeah,
So I encourage you to attend if you're able to, and
yeah, that'll be an eye-opener for a lot of people, particularly the police station, so.
What were the dates again, Marshall?
Thursday evening of May 19th, 5:30 p.m., and then Saturday morning, the 21st at 10 o'clock.
Mary, you got anything for us?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion to
Motion
adjourn
to adjourn.
the meeting.
Liz had the motion. Second?
I second.
Carly seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye too. It is 8:41 and the Park Commission is adjourned.